Okay, let's play this one through at race speed and then we'll break it down. This is going to be a very interesting one as well, so pay attention. Now, interestingly, the lead car didn't really get affected as far as track position goes on that incident, so that's not often the case, but it was in this incident. But let's see what happens. So here, both cars are very close, to the racing line, and there's quite a gap between the two cars. So let's just take it forward. Okay, so the lead car is, getting himself in position to take this corner, so he's getting right onto the racing line, as you might expect. And even at this early point, the trailing car is moving, he's angling himself for the inside line here. So even at this early point before corner entry, it looks like the trailing car is lining up some maneuver on the inside. At least he wants to see what's available on the inside. Now that's me sitting here reading the mind of the driver. Shouldn't be doing that. The responsibility award system doesn't attempt to read a driver's mind, just looks at the position of the cars on the track when the contact is made. So let's see what happens here. So we're going to pause this here, which is where the lead car reaches the corner entry point being where the racing line starts to turn into the corner. Okay. Now, the leading car has chosen the racing line, and he's fully entitled to any line he wants through this corner because at this point he's not being challenged for position. The trailing car has not reached the rear axle of the leading car at corner entry. Now, what's important in this scenario is how much time is going to elapse between when the trailing car gains position on the leading car and the point of and when the contact occurs. Okay, because again, the leading car is entitled to any line he wants through this corner when he's not being challenged for the corner at corner entry. And at this point, he's not being challenged for position. And he's still not challenged for position. Okay, and since the trailing car is so far to the inside, there's really no way the leading car would know exactly where the trailing car is. He might have some idea in his mind, but there's no way he can see him in his mirror. So he really doesn't know where the lead car really doesn't know where the trailing car is at this point. And this is a really aggressive entry for the trailing car. Let's face it. Now, this is me as a human being passing that judgment. The computer system, I'm not sure, really knows or needs to know that this is an aggressive entry. But what it does know is that the leading car is entitled to any line he chooses through the corner at this point because he's not being challenged for position, and he's already past corner entry and he's well into the corner. Now at this point, it looks like from this perspective that the trailing car has gained position on the leading car, in that the nose of the trailing car has reached the rear axle of the leading car. But I really don't know if the software would be able to, give any heads up to the leading car at this point, since there's so much separation between the two cars. But even if you assume that it did, if you look at the rate of closing here, we also as humans have the ability. Well, I guess the software would know this even better than us. Looking with our eyes, the software would know all the physics of and the inputs from the drivers. But if I look at this, the lead car is on his brakes and pretty evenly on his brakes, right? He's like, hey, I'm taking the racing line through this corner. I've got this corner. This is going to be a good corner. I'm going to make some good time through this corner. And the trailing car is thinking, hey, I'm going to try to line up this inside pass here, so I'm not going to be braking too hard. I need to get my nose inside there. So just in this point in time, trailing car, no brakes, leading car on the brakes. And as we continue through, the leading car, you can see he's on his brakes solid all the way through here. And the trailing car is like tapping his brakes. He's like, oh, I know I have to slow down because I have to make the corner. But maybe his primary objective is to stick his nose in there. I don't know. I'm reading his mind. Certainly it's what it appears to be to me. And now you can see the lead car, he's not on his brakes, right? He's on his brakes, and look at the racing line. So the racing line tells you, hey, when it's red, that's a braking zone. So the lead car is on his brakes, Now the racing line is saying, hey, if you want to make a good lap here, think about getting off your brakes at this point. So the lead car, guess what? Gets off his brakes. Now the trailing car, on the other hand, he gets in here and he's like, tap, tap, tap. I know I've got to slow down, but most important that I get my nose in there. Now, when we get into this point, the leading car is in that section where you should be off the brakes and thinking about getting on the gas. Now, the car on the inside is making such an aggressive maneuver here. He's like, man, I need to slow down some more. But I think I might have achieved my objective of sticking my nose in there. So we play this forward. So it comes down, because the leading car is still doing all the right things. He is on the racing line, right? He's, off the brakes. He might be on the gas. He's thinking, okay, I gotta take off the throttle a little bit. Oh, and then there's contact. So the leading car has done absolutely everything correctly. And since he's done everything correctly, I don't think there's any way that there was enough time, excuse me, between when the trailing car gained position, right, and the point of contact. Here, there was no way that the lead car had enough time to be able to react to the trailing car. That's just my opinion from looking at this, but I think the software would, which has access to those times, would be able to make that determination. And then just the fact that if you look at the separation between the two cars when the trailing car gains position, it's not like they're wheel to wheel here. There's a huge separation. So that tells me that there's a massive angle difference between the two cars, which ends up in this contact. So, I mean, since the lead car has done absolutely everything correctly here, right? There's nothing else that could be done. The responsibility award system would reward the trailing car with responsibility for this incident.